2, 1. Hi there, ho there, hey there. This is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo. And, excuse me, and a frog in my throat. I'm here with Lee Sharp. Not exactly with Lee
Ribbit.
Sharp. He's in the Keys with me, right?
Yeah, I can see your house from here.
You can? Wow.
I was stalking.
We have, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood here. How is it? You're in Tavernier, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. We have a helicopter. It's weird here in the Keys, but I'm sure there's a lot of places in the rest of the country where we have, they use helicopters for checking. There's a lot of use of helicopters down here for besides just life flight and checking the power lines. They use helicopters, and they have a guy on a skid, and they're looking at the power lines over Route 1, the main power trunk, and also they use them. I think they use them for mosquito control, and also for some type. And I don't want to call it surveillance, but it's kind of surveillance to see what's going on. You know, a lot of people training on down here. So we always have helicopters going on over, and a lot of flights over, even though we're a community. Key Largo's 10,000 and Tavernier's 3,000 people. It's just, there's helicopters all over the place. Do you concur with that?
Well, I haven't really noticed. I've been inside most of the time, but I'm sure they do have those measures in hand doing that. I just haven't heard much.
No, not right now. Not right now, but all the time. Like, it's not unusual. Like,
okay.
When you hear a helicopter hovering near your house, imagine if you were a paranoid type, paranoid schizophrenic, just one of those people, and you move down here, and you just moved down here, let's say, during a time period when there wasn't a lot of helicopters flying around, and all of a sudden you have the people checking the power lines, you have the guys flying over, doing a lot of checkout flying around, and you must be going nuts if you're paranoid.
Right. Well, I can imagine that would be absolutely true. They're always watching you, as some people would say, the big brother. But
yeah, but it's not. If you're down here, I mean, at least unless they're all different agencies are gathering the same information. But there's better ways of doing it nowadays. Hell, we're on the internet, so flying over someone's house is not necessarily the best way with all the smart devices people have in their homes now. You could more economically, it's a lot cheaper just hacking into their cameras and stuff like that, and their
Sure.
Alexas and Google Home, whatever. But yeah, it was funny because I heard the helicopter, and if you live in a city, I can imagine if you had a different. If you live in a city, that has to be a lot less. If you live in a real rural area, you rarely ever see a helicopter. But here, even though we're not a big town, we are densely populated. We're all grouped around Route 1 here. It's one main strip. So,
right.
Lee, are you familiar with I was courting that town in the Netherlands, Leiderdorp? We did a show, right? I told you about it?
Later?
Leiderdorp?
No, I don't
I
believe
never told
so.
you. I didn't do a show with you about that.
Later, refresh my memory. It's been a minute.
Okay. Well, last week I had some listeners from several different listeners from a small city in the Holland, the Netherlands, called, in and around Leiderdorp. And Leiderdorp is a city about 27,000 people. It's in between. What's the main city? You've been there, Amsterdam, and
Yeah, I've been there.
Amsterdam and Rotterdam. It's in between
Uh-huh.
there, and it's got a big city near it, a kind of medium-sized city called Leiden near it. And were you a Game of Thrones person?
Absolutely. Well, it took me a while, but it finally clicked. Love
Remember the Red Priestess?
Yes.
Was she hot?
Absolutely.
She's from that area. She's from there. Carice Van Houten. So I've been shamelessly. So when I saw that, I had an idea, and my idea was I was going to do every show. I was going to have a segment on this town. I'd have a picture of the town in it and featured in it. I'd talk about the mayor, Layla Jansen, and I figure I'd get at least a couple more people. Jesus Christ, don't you know? There is a barrier. I always thought that maybe that would have worked. It was like it was insane, the idea maybe, but I thought it also made for pretty good podcasting. And I was shameless. I was going pointedly just for that group. It was a medium-sized town.
Sure.
I'm sure there's no other podcast in the United States that made this town of their interest and focus. And I'd have to say I'm not a tiny podcast, but then again, I'm not a large one. I hope to be a large one soon. We're more medium. I think we're medium, with maybe 4,000 or 5,000 listeners a month. But I attempted by putting in the hashtags, contacting them, trying to get some interest, and they're just not biting. I guess they have more concerns right now with.
Oh.
I told them, I actually, the first show, I said, there's really no mayor of Key Largo, so I declared myself the mayor of Key Largo. That isn't exactly legal, but then again, there isn't a competing claim.
All right. Well, you're doing a great job so far.
Thank you. And I suggested that we become twin cities or sister cities. You ever heard of sister cities? I think Nashville has. I'm sure Nashville. I mean, Memphis. I'm sure Memphis has one. Are you familiar with any of the sister cities?
You mean sister cities? Well, every city wants to be like Memphis, where I'm from, and
there's probably like in France. There's a sister city. In England, it's probably like Devonshire or maybe Manchester. That's their sister.
Well,
city.
wherever the music capital would be in any other country, they're going to go ahead and assume they're part Memphis. Any place that has any soul.
Okay.
And the Memphis of England would probably be, I would probably say Birmingham.
Because the Beatles are from there.
Well, it's because it's a kind of a rough town, but lots of great music comes out of it.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay, well,
things like that.
Well, I was suggesting that we could, I was offering that, hey, listen, you're a small city, might as well become our sister city.
Yeah.
And I figure no one in Key Largo has made the attempt, so I figure I make the attempt. But I'll tell you, it's like unrequited love. It'd be like if I focused on a girl and sent her flowers and loved poetry and sonnets and lovely notes. I had a little pushback, this There was nobody interested. And the funny thing about Holland, this is what I want to say, this is going to be the last show, unless there's an uptick in listeners, but they speak English as well as you and I. You know that? And that being said, so this is my final play for Leiderdorp. I will put a picture of them in the I'm going to just say this will be my farewell and love note to Leiderdorp since they aren't interested, and I wish them the best of luck. I do wish them the best of luck, and but we're going to have to be part ways because I don't want to be given whatever the podcast or internet equivalent of a restraining order.
Oh wow.
I know. Well,
That's
I'm really not tracking them or anything like that. I'm just paying close attention.
Uh-huh.
It's like being an unofficial fan club to someone who isn't necessarily a big star, right? Pick someone out. Pick someone out there, like it'd be like you creating a fan club for the girl that works at, what's the name of that, Mocha Cafe in Tavernier.
Okay.
And you started writing songs about her and all that stuff. I don't know. I met, they're almost all women that work there, so I figure I'll just say there's one woman in there, let's say, and you decided to create content based on her. Now that would be scary because people say I don't know who that person is. I have no idea who Ray Sharp is. Why is he writing songs about me and stuff like that? Now, as a city is like, it must be flattering for a city. I thought, this is my idea, this is my thinking. A city would not be afraid. It'd be not like I would go over there and do anything, throw them in the back of my van. The whole city.
Right.
There's 27,000 of them, for God's sake. I wouldn't really be able to do that. I'd need a large cargo ship, But since they're inland...
Yeah, really you need a couple of those, probably.
Well, actually, one of those shallow boats that go, because they got a river that runs through their town. One of the Rhine, tributaries to the Rhine, I think, runs through there. But this will be the final episode, unless I see one more, unless I see 20 unique views of the podcast, because I believe that would make us the number one English podcast in Leiderdorp, and I would not be able to abandon them if they do that. Yes, what?
Here's a couple things you could do.
What?
To get more viewers there, unique viewers, like you said, you could go over there and
I can't get any viewers, buddy.
Leave your sunglasses.
Oh, and go back and pick them up.
You can go over there and leave your sunglasses over there. Yeah. I mean,
get more listeners. You need listeners.
It's like, hey, I left my sunglasses there. I'm back. Or you could just call them every now and again, and when they answer, just kind of hang up. But they see that it's you, and they're like, "What? He's really thinking about?" Little things like that. Just leaving something over there, in the Netherlands or Holland area, and they'll have to get back in touch with you.
I could go to the Best
those are
Western,
expensive glasses.
The Best Western in Leiderdorp, maybe near the Subway shop there. I think they have Subway there. I know they have the Subway in Leiden, but I haven't gotten a contact from any of their bakeries or coffee shops, because I would love to have spoken to someone at one of their coffee shops and promoted them.
Well, they have the
that
weed
would
coffee
be a good one.
shop
So
too.
it's called the Leave Behind. The Leave Behind, where you go back and you have to go and claim it again. I could leave a person. I could go and leave a person there if we went together. I could leave you.
You know what?
What?
I'd stay.
You'd stay? I think they'd like you over there. There's no reason why. They speak English quite well over there. If you take Carice Van Houten's accent as a example, they are very proficient in the English language, much more so than I am. But I noticed this funny, Lee, that you keep on calling. You said viewers, and you, even though you're a musician and you work in the audio field, you didn't say listeners. So I figure you'd be the first one to default to saying listeners.
Just saying what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last
said
part.
viewers. You said viewers.
Oh yeah, okay, listeners. I'm sorry. That's
no. I'm not picking. I'm just
that's
saying.
my bad.
It's interesting. No. What I'm saying is, you work in the audio medium too. So, I mean, are you looking to gain viewers or listeners?
I'm looking to gain whoever will want to listen and have them share to other listeners as well.
Yeah, if someone says, let me say, if someone took your picture and they posted it up because you are a nice looking guy, but if they just took your picture and said, "Oh, here's a nice looking guy," and didn't listen to any of your music, how unsatisfying, or how would you feel about that? If just saying you had a following and your following started saying, "Well, they just followed the picture."
Right. And I believe that is the culture now with Instagram and things like that. They just post pictures and there's Instagram models and all those kind of things. But to me, it would be, personally, I would, like on the inside, I would think that it would be kind of superficial, obviously. But if 10 people look at that photo and they're like, okay, let's see what this guy's got.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then that's fine. And then, and that tends to multiply over time. And sometimes you have to, that's why you don't take a picture when you're trying to promote yourself with a picture of someone else or just a picture of the sky or something like that. You want to put your best foot forward. I'm not saying my face at all is the best foot forward, but, let's see what this dude has to say, because I do sometimes look interesting, and people want to know more. That's how I know a lot about a whole lot of people. It's because...
Oh, okay. Well, then you convinced me of the wisdom. I posted a picture where I actually there was a little sneaking reveal of my ball sack, so that may create a little intriguing picture that someone may want to follow the Facebook thing. That's good. Okay, and may get me,
especially for ball loving, especially for ball sack loving people.
Okay, sure. Here we go. Thank you, Dr. Tom likes it. I don't know if you can hear it, but he's laughing his ass off. Okay.
Oh yeah, I heard a little something in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Dr. Tom. Okay, well.
Hey, Dr. Tom.
Since we were talking about English, and it worked out perfectly about you're a student of the language because you study lyrics and music and how they go together. Phrasing. Well, there's a listener of ours in Poland, and I got his name. His name is Bartek, and the reason I know it is he's actually my Abby's nephew. Right?
Okay.
I met him 4 or 5 times. I've been over 3 times. So I met him. I think I met him 3 times. Well, more than 3 times while we were over. We're over for extended stays. But he speaks some English, and he listens to the podcast. And he's in a place near Abby's hometown. It's about 10 to 15 miles away, or 20 to 25 kilometers. However the fuck that works, you know what I mean? I know how it works. I know how. It's 1.6 kilometers to a mile. Okay?
Right.
I don't always do it. So it's about 20 to 25 kilometers away from Abby's hometown. That's her brother's son. And Bartek has been listening to the podcast to learn English.
All right.
Let me repeat that. Bartek is listening to this podcast to learn English. So that means if he went to past episodes, he listened to Bill and Luke to learn English.
Yeah.
And those guys, if you learn, you might as well listen to, and they're wonderful guys. They're funny as hell. But if you want to learn English that way, you can go to Green Acres, maybe. There's an old series on television. Or perhaps the movie Deliverance. Right?
Sure.
Deliverance. Or any of the Walking Tall movies. Even though they have unless they have a country, Beverly Hillbillies. That's one of, yes. That'd certainly be one. They certainly have a Granny and Jed Clampett feel to them, and you can learn a lot. But here, especially when you're here, they get some more soulful sounds, maybe. And here, I guess for me, would be more of a. I don't know if I'm not an academic, but I border more on the academic than perhaps more working class. But there's a lot of things you can learn during the show, like a proper greeting. So if I was going to greet someone for some time, I'm greeting, saying hello to the listeners. I say, hello, how are you doing today? Right? And that's if I want to establish just a pleasant respond back and forth. Like, what would you do, your first greeting coming out of the thing, when you meet someone for the first time? And then I'll show you
for
how
the first time personally, like face to face, I would say, the regular greeting, hello. Of course, but if I've met you a couple of times, the southern side will come. It's like, hey, y'all.
Okay, hey, y'all. That's
if there's more than one.
That's a colloquialism, they call that. A colloquialism.
That would be correct.
So let's say that's okay. You meet someone, and I say, hello, how are you? It's someone you're meeting formally, and let's say you're meeting someone, and you're not exactly sure as to how you'll be greeted by them because they look a little rougher a character. Let's say you meet someone who perhaps is a biker or a gang member from the movie, what's that movie? The Warriors, right? Someone dressed like, you saw the movie The Warriors, didn't you?
No, but I should see it.
Oh, you should see it.
It's got a whole bunch of characters that are on it.
They had the best fucking gangs. They had a gang of the skinheads, but the skinheads weren't all white. They were wearing like leather vests and jeans and stuff like that, but they were black and white skinheads. Right? You don't see a lot of them.
Well,
they rode around in a bus. And then you had the martial arts, the black martial arts gang. They always wore the gi, the robe. They're running around in the martial arts robe. You have the baseball players with the grease paint, the white and black grease paint on, and wearing the Yankee uniform, right? So they run around with baseball bats, which, kind of scary. And then you have the roller skating. Now, this is the best one. The roller skating overall wearing, they look like they're wearing an outfit like Gallagher, the comedian, was wearing. The overalls, the striped long sleeve shirts with the collarless long sleeve shirts. Yes, and all different kind of outfits. They look very rural, and the leader of it is on a pair of roller skates, which tracking people through subways and stuff, and a lot of steps and curbs and stuff like that. You figure roller skates maybe better than in the country, because roller skates in a cornfield probably wouldn't work. But they dressed like they were halfway, I don't know, like they were dressed.
I don't remember these
to go to work. It's like an 8th grader in Iowa going to school for the first day of school. You got your good overalls. You got your pullover. I don't know how I'm getting it. I'm talking about greeting someone you're not sure how you're going to be received, and you got to come off as like, hey, hi, how you doing? That's the city greeting. If you meet someone, it's a tenuous greeting. You're not exactly sure if there's going to be some, you're going to be hostilely received, and so you got to go, what's up?
I have an answer for that.
What?
For the most part, no matter how you and I are, we're all going to treat our surroundings as something different when there's someone different coming. We're all prejudiced, and by prejudice I mean just prejudging, and which prejudice sounds like a bad word, but prejudging is a lighter way of saying it. But prejudging someone is not necessarily a bad thing, but just by its cover, I believe is.
Oh,
For instance, when I came
all I'm doing is suggesting the staging of your greeting to
I know what
the
you're saying.
uncertain to an uncertain reception. That's all it is. I'm not saying you look
Okay,
at someone because I swear to God, I met guys that were dressed like they looked like outlaws or warlocks, or when I say warlocks, not like Gandalf or anything like that. A guy that's showing up at a Renaissance fair. I met a biker gang, and I met one, and they were the most genteel people I ever met. And
I agree.
And I don't and
I agree. In my experiences,
and necessarily from my experience
and,
with someone of another race, if they could be dressed up totally different and stuff like that. You do not know the range of receptions, or is the range of receptions you get in anybody. So I don't have that. But when it's uncertain, like when someone's wearing a bow tie, a jacket, a thing, most times you're going to get, or let's say they're dressed for business or something like that. Most times they're even if they're total assholes, right? Which they can be. They're going to return your greeting in a like fashion. But in different environments, you have to be on the lookout for how you greet somebody. So you don't want to look like you're the farm kid just arrived in New York City, and the guy's asking you if you want to find the lady in the cards. Follow the lady, the 3-card Monty. I mentioned that before. 3-card Monty must be really taking a hit right now during social distancing. Because you know what? You can't really point. You can't really come up to the table and stuff like that. And, So when I'm suggesting we're teaching English to people and stuff like that, there are different ways to say hello. And in Poland, they teach it like if I was speaking Polish, they, you say good day, dziękuję, and, when they ask you how are you say dobrze, bardzo dobrze, or stuff like that. But they don't tell you the kind of person you don't realize the kind of person you're talking to. I was sitting on the side of the top of a mountain in Key Largo. It's in Key Largo, Cotton Mountain in Key Largo. In Poland, we were visiting. It was normally they're skiing. It's the top of where they'd be skiing in this area, but they have shops and restaurants and refreshment stands there. And I'm sitting looking around, and I'm just looking at people. And one guy I look at, and he just started yelling at me. Because, I mean, I guess he wasn't comfortable with, my presentation of myself. Yep, and I could tell by the way the guy was talking, he was very angry. All I had to do was stand up. If I really wanted to make it continue, I could get up and just flip him off. But I just looked at him.
Right.
Like, what? I have no idea what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Well, in the same token, I do get same things as a person of color, which I am. Just hanging out at some places, and people think they're a little bit, they know a couple more things than other people that are not of color, meaning of Caucasian race, and this happens a lot. It's like, hey, what's up, brother? Or what's up, my main man? Or something like that. Just to let me know that they're down, or whatever. Or but sometimes it's kind of a backhanded compliment, a backhanded hello, to where they're just kind of downplaying what you look like. Like, well, this one dude, he came up to me, he was like, and I was just passing by. He was going to the restroom. I was coming out. He was like, what's up, brother? What's up, Tone Loc?
What the fuck?
I don't know if you know who Tone Loc is.
Yeah, I do know.
But, I look nothing like Tone Loc, except for similar skin complexion. And without batting an eye, I said, hey, what's up, Trump? and then he got mad at me.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's weird, Okay, you're being fun. I'm being fun too. What's up, Trump? And he got
Oh
upset
yeah.
with me because I called him Trump, but he called me Tone fucking Loke.
No,
So,
no, no. Hey,
um,
you know what? When I say the greeting, I wouldn't use a regional colloquialism. I would just make it when I'm saying something. When you're in an uncertain environment, to use a less formal, more let's say open approach, meaning you could be letting people know is that rather you're rather reserved and you're not going to be open to being taken. So if I went someone, hey, how you doing and stuff like that, that I'm slightly world, um, I'm experienced, but I mean, I would never take I can understand, and you know this, I don't have to explain to you. I wouldn't
right.
make the assumption of how to greet someone. But if I was going to call someone my brother, it would probably, I would like to call them, I would call the whitest or most Asian person that as a greeting probably would work better for me because I think it would really, it's kind of interesting. I would use that, yes, in that case, but um, and just to make it see how it would be received. You know?
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand what
I
you're
would
saying.
do the
A
most
social,
and
a
something like
social.
that. Yeah, and do something more formal. And actually, you know what? A very formal and polite hello to someone who's dressed like a gangbanger probably would be quite humorous. You know,
I don't know.
if you run up to a woman who has you know multicolored hair and a bunch of face piercings and tattoos all over her body, and you go up and say, "Greetings, my lady. You certainly look." Not to be too over the top, but greetings, my lady. How are you
I
on this
understand what you
fine
mean.
day? Something like that, and it doesn't mean anything that way. They could take it as they will, and I didn't assume anything about them, and they could take it if they want to find it funny. To find it funny, they may most likely would find it weird, right?
Well, probably, but once again, when in a different environment, if I'm in a black tie affair, I wouldn't just pat somebody on the back and say, "What's up, bro?"
Oh,
or anything like that.
I would do
It,
that
it
in a
depends on
second.
your
Not a
situation.
black, not an African American person, but oh my God,
No, no,
in
any person
oh
at
my
all.
God, we went to see Hamilton.
Yeah,
Oh, I really couldn't do that there because Hamilton was kind of remote. But you see all these people and they were dressed really nice and all that stuff. That would be the perfect time to greet someone like that, but not because we were going to see Hamilton. Uh, and I wasn't drinking at the time, so the best thing I would have said, if let's retire for refreshments during the break, right? Hmm?
of course.
Yeah, but
Intermission.
if I was surrounded by people that were very stuffy, I would go, let's go and get pissed. That would be
Right.
funny. That would be the appropriate greeting for me. Let's go and get
Right.
piss drunk. Though I don't get piss drunk anymore. Uh,
Right.
so it's the context the greeting is used and not making the assumption. I think if you make the assumption, like I wouldn't go and if I see someone and they look particularly Japanese to me, because there is a big difference between people Japanese, Korean, Chinese, and Vietnamese, and someone from Malaysia, or the Philippines.
Right.
You wouldn't go and make the assumption. And first of all, don't make the assumption that they know,
You don't
even if they were of a
you don't
Korean
say that
ancestry,
anyway.
that Korean ancestry to greet them in Korean if you don't know that they speak Korean. You know,
Correct.
so
Some people are from Detroit, man.
yeah, yeah, and I swear to God, you run into anybody who happens to be African American. I know I've seen it before in the city where there's people. African Americans come from all different parts of the country. They're from upstate New York and all that stuff. There's country folk and all that stuff. And you go in the city and someone you start using city lingo with them, they'll look at you like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm talking about greeting
Right.
between uh, uh, two people of color, and the same thing as two people from the city. And so, what the hell are you? When you talk to someone, what the fuck are you talking about? So,
Right.
and the greetings of a friend did like in the United States. If you're going to say, I could do a whole show on how to greet a friend. Really close friend. Hello, how you doing, motherfucker, like that, right?
Right. Right.
Motherfucker, or there's proper ways to curse at someone, right? When you say,
Right.
you're my motherfucker, or how you doing? But if you call someone the P word, if you call them a pussy, or the C word, in Britain they like saying, and I got to watch out because my daughter's around, but it's sort of the harshest of words, a cunt, right?
Right. I know.
They throw that.
I know.
They throw that around. Why you acting like that, and all that stuff, and they don't get They don't get excited about it as much, depending on the context that it's used. And calling someone you're a motherfucker like that, or you're an asshole. Like I'm from Philadelphia. Wait a second, I got a saying right here. This person, one of my regulars. Listen to this, folks.
You're an asshole.
That's one of my regulars, and when she says it, I take it as a compliment. But because I'm from Philadelphia, when someone says, "Hey, you're a real asshole," and I go, "Huh," but it depends on how they say it too. Hey, you fucking asshole, like that. That's right. You might have to take it to heart.
If it has malice behind it, of course, it's going to sound different. Yeah, even with the feel. I've been talking with some people. I'm planning a trip to Australia, hopefully in January, if everything comes out right with the COVID. And I know 3 people in the entire continent. So I'm trying to ask them stupidly, where should I go? But it's a continent just as big as the United States. So I'm asking them questions, and they say bloody with everything, but when it's in a text message, it sounds off because they use bloody in every other part.
No, it's
thrown off.
It's thrown off. If you write it down, it's pointed. It's pointed, right?
Well, no. I mean, no. Normally they just call each other, "Hey, what's up, you bloody cunt? What's up?" Just like they say call bitches here, But be careful of who you call a bitch because you might catch the wrong one.
Yeah.
So what'd you call me? And the earrings start flying off, and the cummerbunds start coming off, and then you're in a world of crap. So the best way I think to do it is to go with how you would like to be greeted. Just start. Because it's hard to offend apparently Australian people.
Uh-huh.
I was actually told Australians think that being called a dog is the worst.
Oh.
Which over here you can say, "What's up, my dog?"
Yeah, it's a compliment. It's you're a friend. You're a pal. You're a buddy.
Right.
You're a buddy.
What's up, dog?
Yeah. What up, dog?
Right. And you said they're really white, by the way, but that's okay.
Well, I know I have to because if I try to culturally appropriate. I should say it really white.
I think it's funnier that way.
I think it is better. I would go, "Hey,
that's how you make friends."
What up, my brother? Is sound out every syllable.
Right.
Every syllable. And
what is happening?
Say it naturally. What is happening, motherfucker? And pronounce
motherfucker.
Right. And say it comfortably. When you say it comfortably, that is your word. I can say that.
Right. I understand that.
And you know what? And brother, in a sense, it's funny when you say brother because I went. You went to Catholic. Was it Dominic's? Was it the?
It was went to Christian Brothers.
Christian Brothers School, and there was brother was an old saying or people. It's an old English saying, actually, calling someone your brother. It's closer than a friend. It's a kinsman. It's someone like that's not just the relationship of having the same parent. Henry V uses it, and he mentions it in his speech. He says, "Yes, you are my brother, and anybody who fights with me today will be my brother," and all that stuff like that. And it's actually when you say my brother, you can say if you say it without an accent. I think you can.
Right.
I think you can say, listen, this is what I mean by it because That's my meaning for it. And people that know me would know that. But I don't necessarily, I wouldn't throw that around in a first greeting. They don't know who I am.
No.
I'll just
Right.
go and say,
You're not brothers
oh,
yet.
you talk differently to the people that you... I said, well, I do because they understand me.
Right.
You know, when I call them, hey,
Well, I mean,
you call someone an asshole, you don't mean they're an asshole, like that's the worst person in the world. You could be a person worthy of the Nobel Prize or sainthood, and I'll call you an
Yeah,
asshole.
there's a bunch of assholes like that.
No, but they're good
I mean,
ones. They're
to
good-
me, though,
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying. That if you're an asshole to me, then you're kind of an asshole. Or I mean, there's so many different uses of the word asshole. I mean, you can just be a jerk, but I'm still your friend. Don't worry about my friend. He's just an asshole. But he's cool. He's my friend. I'm hanging out with. We drove here together.
Yeah. Yep.
But you know what I mean. It's different ways of thinking about it. He's just
Yeah. Wouldn't it be wonderful if people allowed for you having a bad day?
Oh,
You know,
well,
you know what I mean?
That's
And being
First
off,
impressions,
and not being on all the time. Because
first
sometimes,
impressions are a
yeah.
son of a bitch.
Yeah, sometimes we're on. You and I I always feel very comfortable talking to you, where I forget myself.
That's
Right?
cool. I don't care.
No,
That's the thing,
where I
that's me.
forget myself because you're talking to someone you're close to and stuff, and then you go, wait a second, do I? I hope, but that's what I mean. I'm assuming that you feel the same way.
Correct.
You know what I mean? You got to be careful about that. You got to be careful. Just like when you're talking to in relationships, when you meet someone, right? And it works for anybody. Man on man, woman on woman, man woman relationship. You're uncertain about the perspective someone is viewing themselves. You talk to them, you see it all the time. Somebody's talking to them, a guy like the girl is his girlfriend, and the girl is talking about the guy as if he's just a friend, right? And you don't even see that. And that's where people need to say, oh, we need to define a relationship. You need to tell me what you think. And and not only that, maybe someone has a different definition of what a boyfriend-girlfriend is, or what, a husband and wife is.
Correct.
Or open relationships and all this different shit. But, we're in the Keys, and it's not unique only to the Keys, but the Keys, there's a lot of different types of relationships. I guess the more conservative society is, right, you have more established relationships.
Well, no matter where you go, people are scandalous. But
well,
that's
it's deeper.
Kind of like
I think
true thing.
in the Keys, it's out in the open more so, much more so than
Small town.
a lot of different places. For a lot of small towns, we're much more in the open compared to many small towns. And so there's not the anonymity of the big towns, and there's a lot of people that aren't afraid about it. There's still, like I said, there's a big swinging culture here, but they're not. It's not really hidden, but it's not super out there either, right?
Right. Well, here's an example. I met a few friends down here. They might be out of town. They don't know how it works down here mostly because they're on vacation or whatever. But I met them, a couple years ago or whatever, and we've been in contact. And so, let's just say he brings some other folks in town or some people that he's already met that are already in town. And I show up, and it's like, oh, man, what's up, Lee? Hey, y'all, this is my nigga right here, Lee.
Whoa.
And, yeah. Okay, so
is it a
people
white
that are
guy?
in my
Is
town,
it a white guy?
It's a white guy. So, it's happened before, though, as well, besides this particular time. So, and they're flowing the N-word out a lot, mostly because it is the culture. But I'm hanging around people that I already know, and I wonder how long I can let them get away with saying this, even talking to their friends and stuff, and me just sitting back and saying nothing. That is a part. Even though he's cool to me, when you say it out in public and I'm the only one there, it seems like I'm just kind of like, oh, he's just going to let everyone call him that word. That really doesn't fly so much. I'm like, man, why don't you hold off on that hold off on that for a little bit until we get to know each other a little bit better, or don't say that shit in public. Use another one. It's my boy or my dog. I don't mind boy so much. Once again, if it has mouth behind it,
I
it means a totally different thing.
If you really, there's levels of appropriation you can use. And this is my feeling as being a 57-year-old man. I'm 56, right? I'll be 57 soon. Is my main man. I think I can't imagine anybody being insulted by that because you're treating them like a man and how important they are. You use the words the way, think about think of the worst connotation that a word's used in, right? Calling someone
What,
man, using the worst connotation, the worst meaning behind it. You get it?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Say boy and the N-word and all that stuff. They have horrible connotations and should never be reintroduced like that. And there'll be like white people, either of Italian, Irish, and they'll say, well, they used to call us wops and they used to call us mix. And I said, you know what? For some reason, there is no situation where I've heard anybody say Mick enough to me that it bothers me. Right?
I know. It's different.
That it bothers me.
It's always
but
going to be
not
different.
it's not that hard. No, but it's either been so far since it's happened or it doesn't happen anymore or something. But those other words for different groups of people, they're still hurtful and stuff like that. So you got to be mindful of that. And it's not that hard to be mindful. People say, oh, I don't want to have to be politically incorrect. No, just don't be an asshole.
Right.
So be an asshole. It's like when you're talking to a woman, don't use the B word and stuff like that. Now, what's funny about, let's change this from race to misogyny. The B word, bitch. Right?
Okay. Widely used.
For some reason, why they called a female dog a bitch. That sucks because bitching was complaining for me. Bitching and moaning. Right?
Okay.
And that's in the forefront of my mind. In my
fraternity, that's the forefront.
And,
you call a dude, you call a bitch.
And my forethought is when we call someone a bitch, we didn't say they're acting like a lady. We're saying they're bitchy.
Right.
Bitchy people. And but there's people that just go, she's a bitch. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Now you ruin it. Because that word is perfect for someone that's bitching. Because it's a verb to bitch. Bitching, well, actually, when you say something's bitching, and if you use it in different, bitching actually is a good thing. Right? It's a bitching car you have there. Right?
Right. Exactly.
But,
and someone from a foreign country doesn't know that stuff.
Yeah, they don't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting to.
Bitch.
There's a comedian that I can't remember his whole thing, but I think he was from the Netherlands, and he speaks English. He said this in his whole act. Oh man, what was it? Anyway, he was like, okay, he speaks English well, but when he got here, everything had changed because they knew it as one way over there to learn it. So they're like, I wish I could quote the whole thing, but it uses one of those worldly American words that means a whole bunch of stuff, but as a foreigner, you don't know which one they're talking about.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm sure it's that way with any country that you're visiting. So, like, it was like, okay, when I come to America, is like, I think it was badass or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's badass. And he was like, man, that's a badass car. So he had to figure out, because he thought badass was bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that's a badass car.
Two words.
Or that dude right there, he's a badass. Or, you know, stuff like that. I think it was badass, but go ahead.
Well, no, you see bad, there's bad. Saying, hey, that's a bad person. That's bad language. You got a bad grade. That's a bad hairdo. And you call someone an ass. You know, a jerk. That person's an ass. Stop acting like an ass. Don't be an ass. Whatever. You put them together, you think it's double worse. You put them together, badass.
Right.
And a badass is going like this, and some girl says, "You're badass," and stuff like that, and you're like, "Oh my god, it's very exciting." You're in the trim, just like the word bitching, or the word motherfucker, or when if a nice looking girl said, "Hey, come here, and called you a bitch. Come here, bitch.
Well,
Like that,
it depends.
depending on the connotation to it. It's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. Because if you're using a kind of like a dominance thing, it could be necessarily, it could be in humor, it could be all sorts of things. So the trappings of language are peculiar, and you know what? It's just one of these things you're always going to learn through it, but you're always going to have to take it in context, and that's where learning how people's demeanor is when they're saying it.
Right.
And I think if you watch, and this is going to be great. I like watching movies in other languages. I love them.
I do too.
See,
Yeah.
And you watch it and you see their face, why they're saying something and how they're saying something. Because rarely does someone say something and not reflect important emotions in it. If you're just making a regular monologue, there's no feeling behind it. Yes, it's going to be hard to tell what they mean behind that. But when there's feeling behind it and stuff like that, you can almost just drop the captions, and you know exactly.
Right.
There was this movie.
I understand.
It was on HBO. It was one of the most popular foreign ones on HBO. I mean, HBO has a lot of Latin, Spanish content. I got to check that out because you know what, I do understand Spanish somewhat, so I imagine it'd be better if I watch. I should do that in the next couple of weeks. Just watch Spanish programming.
And it also depends on what region they're filming the Spanish version or whatever you're talking about.
Yeah. Spain. There's Spain, and there's South America, and there's Central America, and there's. But we were watching. It was called My Beautiful Friend, and it takes place in Naples, in Italy. Naples. Okay. Yeah, but it takes place in Italy, and they go back between Naples, which is all the way in the south of Italy, and they go up to Pisa and Turin, which is in the north. And there's people in North Italy. They consider themselves more cultural, more intellectual, and you can see how they're talking. And even though I can't hear it in their language that they're saying anything differently from each other. When
I know what you mean.
A gentleman's referring to a young lady who's brilliant and saying your accent belies your confidence and your intelligence, he pretty much said. He says, your accent is good. People are going to judge you by that. And I'm thinking, I have no idea. I think she looks brilliant, the girl. And it's about two friends growing up. One was super brilliant and the other was just brilliant. The super brilliant one wasn't given the opportunities and stuff like that. But it's a woman's show, but I'll tell you, I found it fascinating. I loved it. I loved this show.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
there is some. Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
They start out as young girls, like 6 and 7 years old and stuff like that. And yes, 2 seasons so far. I think there's going to be a third one eventually and stuff like that. But I'd say, what I'm saying is, when you watch them, obviously when you see someone's angry, when someone's in love, when someone's forlorn, when they're heartbroken, you can see it, and you hardly the particulars in the language probably explain what got them that way, but you know where they are right then, and that's what
right.
So when it comes to listening to a podcast, especially this one, and I want to say to nephew Bartek, is that you got to be careful in how you appropriate the language. There's things that can be said and things that can't be said. Okay.
Correct. Because you can't see me. But
Yes.
and as far as movies are, I watched based on a true story. I'm sure you've seen it. I think it's a great movie. It's Johnny Depp and um, uh, uh, the Scarface guy,
Oh, Donnie
um,
Brasco.
Donnie Brasco. They're like, okay, so one of the other guys who was like, it's based on a true story about an FBI guy infiltrating the New York and New Jersey mobs,
Yeah.
and he was like, this one guy was like, okay, so what does forget about it mean? And Johnny Depp goes on to explain it. It's like, well, it could just mean forget about it, don't worry about it, or it could mean, oh man, that dude's pasta fazool, forget about it, or it could mean about like 30 different things, or it could just mean just forget about it.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
there is a loose context of forget about it. Forget about it. If you say it in
but it's the
context,
same
so
word.
you go, hey, thanks
It's
for
the
giving
exact
me,
same thing.
thanks for driving me up to Miami to pick up that thing using your truck. And the guy goes, forget about it. He goes, that's
Forget
means
about it.
my
Forget
pleasure.
about it.
I would do that for you anytime. Or, say, oh
Correct.
yeah, yeah, almost any in the context that you're saying it, and yeah, just like bad.
I mean, it's it can be good or bad. I mean, hey, what do you think about Jim Horn? I'll forget about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I said the word bad though. Remember that when Michael Jackson did a whole song on bad.
right,
Yeah, he didn't mean
right,
he was
yeah, yeah,
he didn't mean he was a horrible person. I mean, he just said, pretty much he's got it going on. That's what he's saying.
right.
You know
Right.
it.
Bad
You know
meaning
it. I'm
good,
bad.
good
I'm
meaning
bad.
bad.
You know
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
right.
Who's bad? He took some. You take one word and you can saying, that's or calling someone that's an evil plan. You could say it's very creative. You know what I mean?
That's fine with me.
It could be quite funny. Evil is not necessarily the thing. And when you call someone saintly, let's say, oh, the saint, you could mean sarcastically. You're saying this person's boring as shit, and they're pretentious.
Right.
So,
Well, right. Sometimes calling the opposite it catches on. Like it was like, like, hey, what's someone said something stupid. I was like, no, it's this, you genius.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Einstein.
I'm not calling him a genius.
Or Einstein. Almost anything. When you call someone an Einstein, you're
Einstein,
saying
right.
you're saying they're not intelligent. That person's a real Einstein.
Exactly.
That person's a real Einstein.
So,
now, 1 out of 50 people might mean that person. That person is actually a real Einstein.
maybe.
If you say it like that, if you say that person's really an actual, or if you say that person's an Einstein, huh? Like that, you're meaning the exact opposite. The person barely
Exactly.
can figure out the basic laws of the universe. So,
Which is why English apparently is one of the hardest languages to learn. That's what I was told, and I thought maybe Japanese would be, but apparently no, it's English.
well, I imagine with
because
words,
there's so many different ways to do stuff.
Well, I mean, if you say the exact emphasis on the word works in almost any language, like Swahili, the clicks things. If you say the same thing, it says, you could call someone a big man, right? In almost any language,
Right.
you can call someone a big man. Big man.
Yeah. Oops.
Big man.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you go like that.
That could be gay.
No. Well, wow, you went right for the gay thing. I'm saying big man meaning it could be acting like a child, or they could be cruel or something like that. Or you could actually mean they're a very large person, very large man, right?
Or it could be
Depending
gay.
on the emphasis, it goes, oh, look at you, big man. Acting like real tough and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or you can say, look at you, big man. You can barely get through the door. Big man, you broke the chair.
Right.
It's
Right.
all sorts of things. And there was one thing I recall when I was walking through. I'm going to give one instance, and I feel bad, but I think because I'm not there at the time, it's all right, and it's happened, and the girls passed that, and I never said anything about it. I was working as a manager in a catering hall, and there was 2 older ladies. they were talking to a younger girl who was 15 or 16 years old, and they were aunts or grandparents or something like that looking at the girl, and the girl's has pictures. Now this is pre cell phones, and she's showing her pictures, and she goes, "Oh, that's a picture of your dress, blah 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 blah," and she goes, "You're going to be the belle of the ball, right?" With that Northeast feeling, the belle of the ball. And I look at the girl, and I look at the lady, and I'm like, they don't see me doing it. I look real quick, and I go, "Oh, did they mean that figuratively? Did they mean belle, like beautiful, Belle, French for beautiful?" I'm looking at it because there is no way that girl's going to be the belle of any ball, unless it's going to be like an elephant man look-alike contest. Actually, it's really cruel at that time. I was drinking a lot at that time, so I guess I was pessimistic. And I'm looking at it, I go, "Wow, those ladies were being very sweet." And we can argue whether they were giving false confidence to the girls and stuff like that. But I'm looking.
You could do that.
Yeah, and they go like this. And they go, "Are they being figurative of their language? Because unless she's the only girl going to be there, and there's going to be a bunch of dorky guys there. Maybe that's the way." And I'm thinking the whole thing, and I go, and there was a whole meaning to the language. I thought, wow.
Do the bell cow the ball.
Yep. Yeah. Bell boy. So that was for you, Bartek. So that was for you, Bartek. And we've reached an hour. You know what? We reached a whole hour. And listen, I want to give a plug for you. So 2 days ago, was it 2 days ago, you did the live, what would you call it, FaceTime?
It's called Facebook Live.
Facebook Live?
Yeah, and Facebook Live
you
is
saw me share and all that stuff. It looked like it was successful for you.
I saw that. I did have a technical difficulty in the middle, but next week I'm going to try and do that again as well, with everything. Like, I'm going to put it on airplane mode.
Well, you know what? Before you do that, let's do a show, and we'll promote it. Okay, when you're set to do that. So we'll try to get as many people live to listen to it. Okay.
Okay.
And
that sounds great.
We'll do that, and we'll promote it here. And do you, since things are opening up, do you have any gigs coming up?
I just right before I talked to you, I was talking to a person that an owner of a venue, and I hadn't talked to her in a while, so I just basically did a kind of a cold call, and she really wants to get business back up just as much as most of us do with social distancing intact. So this Saturday, I'll be playing at the Alamorada Strip Shack, which has tremendous food, cuisine, and has an outdoor area with a tent. Also has indoor as well. So I just locked that up literally an hour and 15 minutes ago. It is posted on my Facebook from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So it's only 3 hours. Come by, get yourself some food, and I think I might be able to actually cast that live as well. And maybe, Jim, after we talk, maybe we can do a live broadcast as well. I don't know.
Oh, from there?
This all just came to me just now. Yeah.
I'll see what I can do. I don't know how my audio. I don't know how good my audio will be for that, but I'd be happy to do it. Maybe I can. Let me see with the thing. Yeah, I would be. I'm not doing anything that day. I would do that.
Because this will be one of the first gigs of all of the keys.
Yep. Okay. That'd be great.
In 9 weeks.
Okay. I don't want to get you but I was at the Caribbean Club yesterday on the beach. And Mac and Steve were playing at the Big Chill.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Yeah. I was gonna try and get up there.
Okay. They were looking there, and I go, "Holy crap!" And I don't know. I didn't see any mask. I seen people coming on boats, like 8 people coming off a boat. And I go, okay, well, there goes social distancing and shit like that. But you know what? Yeah. I didn't call or anything like that, and I'm not calling people out. And just for you know, we do So Lee, we have that. We're going to promote that. Make sure we get that in there. Send me a text when you're going to be there. Send me that text of the time you're going to be there, so I can put it in the notes.
Okay.
Okay.
Done
And
deal.
thank you everyone for listening. Bartek in Krasny and Krasny, I guess. I'm sorry, my pronunciation sucks. But I'd like to say goodbye to Leiderdorp. But if I do hear any uptake from anybody from Leiderdorp, we may be able to continue this. But this, as of now, unless there is a significant uptick into our listenership there, we're saying see you later, Leiderdorp. So I know that was a horrible pun, but
Go on, Leiderdorp.
Yeah, bye Leiderdorp. And if you like Prosecco and sparkling white wine, please go to www.keysbartender.com. Go to our sponsors page and click on Bellissima Wines. That's Christy Brinkley's brand, and they have some wonderful no sugar alternative for sparkling white wines and Prosecco and all that stuff. And people know you already know how to order. You've been in shut in your house already. You know how to order online, so why not do it? And also, if you're interested in CBD and CBG products, check out DaKind, D-A, that's one word, K-I-N-D, and you can find them at dakind.com, D-A-K-I-N-D.com, and I'll post that in the notes. Thank you again, Lee, and I'll be talking to you. Don't hang up. We'll talk right after this, okay? I'm just going to play the music, okay?
Done deal. All right, music time. Thanks, guys.
No, I'm playing the music. Stay right there.